Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're very glad that you're with us. Hope you're having a good afternoon. It's so nice for the weather to finally be broken down. It's September 15th, 2020. For those people who are on Zoom, if you have any questions, whatever, we really ask if you open up the chat box, please enter your questions into the chat box. And for those people on Facebook, I see we have a few people on Facebook right now. I am monitoring the feed. If you'll put your questions into the comment field, I'll be sure to ask those questions as our speaker takes a break to ask questions. For those people on Zoom, there's a couple different ways to view things. I think everybody hopefully by now has figured it out. You have a speaker view and a gallery view. We ask that you use the speaker view, which is on the lower left-hand corner. It shows a picture of the speaker along with the PowerPoint presentation right next door. And for those people who are using a PC or Mac, you can, where that little red arrow is, if you grab those little white lines, you can pull that back, you can slide that back and forth, so you can change the ratio of how big and small the speaker versus the PowerPoint slide is. Please note that today's event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the local area. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group that meets every Friday morning. And I'll tell you about our programming upcoming this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Well, today is our 22nd LinkedIn presentation that we've done. It's hard to believe since COVID started. So today's number 22. We've got 4 speakers that present about LinkedIn on a rotating basis, and sometimes I fill in if need be. Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, and Kurt Vandemotter. Everybody brings a little bit different point of view of how they use LinkedIn, how maybe you consider using LinkedIn. So hopefully join us more than one time, listen to these speakers, because they all have a unique aspect of how you can probably better use LinkedIn. So today, our speaker is Ruth Lipsky. She's a career coach specializing in talent development and career transition. She's going to talk about special features for job seekers. So Ruth, thank you very much for being with us, and it's all yours.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction. We're going to be talking about how to maximize LinkedIn, and this is one of the features for job seekers that is going to be a huge part of how you're going to become more effective in LinkedIn. So things we'll be covering just briefly, talking about the LinkedIn basics. We'll talk about what recruiters see when they're using LinkedIn Recruiter to find talent. We're going to be talking about how you need to set up your titles and your skills in order to be found more easily, what other sections of LinkedIn you should be using beyond the basics. We'll talk about how to set up the job searches and networking, and we'll talk about posting activity. And why are we doing this? It's because these days companies are using LinkedIn more and more in order to find the people that they need to bring into an organization. LinkedIn is telling us, and the Lever study in 2017 agreed that when recruiters are looking for a specific set of talents, quite often they'll go directly to LinkedIn, type in a title, a geographic location, and some skills, and find people to bring in for interviewing. This is in lieu of setting out some job postings at the different job boards and at other sites. It's a lot faster, it's a lot easier, and they get the results. So 1/3 of all jobs of a company are going to be found by recruiters through LinkedIn, and most of them are going to be the higher level jobs, because the initial jobs coming into a company are generally found through the company website and are doing well there. You've got 2 goals when you're on LinkedIn. One of them is to optimize your search engine so that LinkedIn recruiting can find you. The second goal is for recruiters to find your profile to be easy to read, to have something that is welcoming on your page. But the first goal that you need to be looking at is, let's find a way for the LinkedIn algorithm to find you. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's take a look at what the recruiters see when they're on LinkedIn. You can see that they're, in this case, taking a look for a product manager in the greater Seattle area, and they're looking for two skills, product management and product marketing. The search results come back with 6,900 candidates to be considered. That's a lot. But take a look at the person who's number one. LinkedIn does not do anything random. There's a reason why this person is number one, and there's a reason why this person is number two. You want to be able to optimize your search and you optimize your profile so that you come up high in the search. On the spotlight that they have on the LinkedIn recruiter board, you can see that 2,500 have a company connection. That means that they have a connection with somebody who is in this company, whether it be a recruiter or someone with the same type of job, doesn't matter what it is. You can see that 462 are engaged in the talent brand. In the talent brand, that means that you're taking a look at, are you following the company on your LinkedIn profile? And that's going to be an important part, because some recruiters are going to come here and assume that if you're following their company in the intersection of your profile, it means you know a little bit more about their company, their brand, their reputation, and you might be easier to bring into the company. Here's another type of view where we're looking now for a project manager in the Chicago area. And notice that it says a greater Chicago area. On your LinkedIn profile, it is better to have a metropolitan area listed rather than an individual city. For whatever reason, metropolitan areas come up on top of individual cities in the search algorithm. In this case, the skills they're looking for, business strategy and analytics. Nearly 43,000 people on LinkedIn meet the criteria at least partly. And Emily Dalton, number one here, there's a reason why she's number one, because she is a fit in more than one way. And LinkedIn has put her profile on the top because of her activity on LinkedIn and is going to reward her for that. Once again, you can see that out of this total, 83 of them are open to new opportunities. I hope you have that turned on. 229 have company connections, and 904 are engaged in the talent brand. All of those factors are going to be pulled in when a search is done. And LinkedIn does give you a value to your profile. Every day it does a reassessment of what your profile is worth. It will never tell you what it is, and it won't tell you what values it's putting on each one of the activities, but you'll only see it when you come up into a search and you find out that somebody has a higher value here because of their activity. So let's talk first about titles, because the first thing that the search is set up on is what the title is. An exact match has the highest value. LinkedIn has standardized titles, so if you go to either the job tab and put in some titles and see what comes up on the recommendation list drop down, use those titles, because LinkedIn, having standardized those titles, is going to be able to know that there are other titles that are similar that may have value also. A title in the experience section has a higher value than the title that is in the headline area at the top of your page. And that's because a title in the experience section means that you've actually done that work. You've been there, you've done that, and you're willing to do it again. A title in the headline or in the open to work area has a secondary value. It is still a very high value in the search, but it means that it may be a step up or a step sideways in your career search. It still has good value, but if you can put something in the experience section that is the title that you're looking for, you're a lot better off. So the headline itself. Nowadays, we want the headline to also show skills. It used to be that we only wanted to put in titles, and the titles we wanted to be separated by the pipe, the straight up and down thing that's right above the enter key. And the reason that we wanted the titles is because we knew that the first search for recruiters was going to be title, then it was going to be location, and then it was going to be skills. But now we find that LinkedIn is rewarding us when we are putting in both a title and a set of skills that differentiate us from other types of people who have those titles. So being able to put in titles is a good thing, but even better would be to add in some additional information about what your strengths are, so that when a recruiter is taking a look at your profile, they'll know not only that you have been a project manager, but you have a specialization in international business expansion. So that gives them a better feel for where your true strengths are, especially if you've got a job title that is fairly broad. Multiple titles are going to be important. So in the experience section, you're going to generally put in the title that you had from your last company. And it may be an official kind of title that only makes sense inside that company. Put in additional titles also. So just because you were given a title at a company doesn't mean that's the only title. Sometimes you need to put in other titles so that the recruiter and the hiring managers know pretty much what you did and not something that looks kind of vague. Generally, you're going to want to separate those titles also with a pipe, because that does mean or in LinkedIn, and it helps on the search algorithm. Now here's an example of how you generally want to have a headline. You're going to start off with an adjective so that you are accomplished, you're certified, you're transformational, you're dynamic. Then you're going to put in your title. Generally, 2 of them are going to be necessary unless you are very specifically in a small area. Then you're going to start talking about what value you bring into the company. You're focused on, you're able to. So an example would be dynamic program manager, driving brand awareness through integrated marketing. That gives titles, it gives a little bit more information about how that person feels that they can contribute to the next company. The headline is a really important part of LinkedIn because it's the first thing that people see when they come onto your profile. If you feel that you've got a good profile, but you're not getting the information that you need from it, that you're not getting the recruiter views, that you're not getting the invitations, then after 2 months, you need to change the headline. And you'd also need to change the first paragraph of your About section. LinkedIn should always be changing. So you'll set it up as best you can, but if after 2 months you don't think it's working for you, change title and change About section. Skills are part of the initial request for information from LinkedIn. Remember, we've got the title, we've got the geographic location, we've got the skills. You're going to be using the words that are most important for your job, but you also want to keep track of what LinkedIn says are the skills that are most needed in a company. The hard skills you're probably not going to be able to do much about, because if you don't have blockchain, you're not going to put that on your LinkedIn profile. But take a look at the soft skills. More and more recruiters are trying to find people who are going to be a fit into their company and who are going to be able to fit into the culture and even improve the culture. If there's any way that you can put in these 5 top skills, creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence, then you should add those into that skills endorsement area. If you can use those in your About section or in your Experience section, that's good too, because the more often you use a skill in your LinkedIn profile, the more LinkedIn rewards it by saying that you have a broader and a better feel for that skill. There are actually 2 different ways of looking at words on LinkedIn. Skills are just the words that are found in the skills and endorsement section. Keywords are the words that are found in the other sections of the profile. When LinkedIn is running its algorithm against your profile, skills are going to have a little bit higher value if they have endorsements associated with them. So in the skills and endorsement area, if you feel you've got some strong skills, you can ask people to endorse you for them so that that brings it up. It is not as high a feature as it used to be because many people cheat on this and they're not feeling as if this is necessarily the strongest indicator of a skill. But if you're using keywords in about, in experience, in other areas, then they are going to have a higher value than that individual word in the skill section. So use them as often as you can if you feel that you've got that skill. Now, LinkedIn, knowing that endorsements has not been a particularly effective way to evaluate talent, introduced the skills assessment test in 2019. And this is going to be an area where you can click on take a test and take an examination to show that you actually do have that skill. It is only for areas that are in the technical, in the business, and in the design area. But LinkedIn is saying right now that people who pass a skill and showcase that on their skills endorsement area with the badge that they provide are much more likely to get hired because now they've proven that they have that skill. It's not just one that they randomly added to their profile. So what's the skill do? The test itself is 15 to 20 multiple choice questions, and each one of those questions covers a different sub-skill for that. This is a timed test. It's got to be completed in one session, so you can't go out and Google the answers. If you pass with a 70% or better, you'll get a badge. And the badges, they don't look much like badges, do they? They look like a clipboard with a check mark on it. But this is what the badges are going to look like on your profile. You can add in those. You don't have to, but why don't you take the test if you're not telling people that you passed it, and it's good. It's good for 12 months, though. After a year, this is going to disappear, and you would have to retake the test, and that is under the assumption that as each one of these proceed in the world, it's going to change, and there are different formulas, there's different activities within that, and they want to be able to test you on that. If you don't pass the test, nothing happens. That there's no badge that says tried it and didn't make it. It just means that you have a chance to take it later, but you can't take any test until 3 months pass. And they do change the questions frequently, so you can't take screenshots of the questions and then come back 3 months later and expect to see those same questions again.
Ruth, there's a question. Where do you take the skills assessments? How do you, I guess, will you show us link on LinkedIn where to go do that later?
Where that is when we move over onto my profile.
Okay.
But if you don't have a skill that has a test associated with it, you won't see that there's a test available. It's only if you have one of the tests. So we'll take a look at that once we go into the profile. Let's take a look at adding more sections because LinkedIn is going to give you some current information in order to be an all-star. It wants you to have a current position, location, industry. An industry you can change, but you really have to go and find this. It's in an area that's not as important anymore. It is looking for a summary, which is now called the About section. You need to have at least 5 skills in your skills endorsement. You have to have something in education. And by the way, you need to have a picture of yourself. Now, a question came up. If you want to take the skills test and you think that you may need a little bit of a brush up on it, there are going to be some sites where you can go and take some training, but it's going to depend on what type of skill that you've got. So if you wanted to get skilled at Excel, most of those training classes you can find on YouTube. There's plenty out there on that. On some
also, I wanted to mention, so LinkedIn Learn, so there's LinkedIn Learning for those people who have premium, but if you want to use LinkedIn Learning for free, LinkedIn Learning is lynda.com. If you have a public library card, you can access your public library, and most public libraries have lynda.com, so you would be taking the exact same class that LinkedIn Learning is. So you can get all those for free.
Nice to be able to do that because the LinkedIn Learning are terrific classes. You'll enjoy those. Texas Workforce Commission also has some free online training via Allison, so nice to know that too. So there is training out there. So let's take a look at the interest section. This is where you're going to find at the very bottom of your profile, it'll have companies, groups, schools, influencers. In the company section, you're going to need to add every company that you're targeting or that you're interested in getting a job at. Because when a recruiter is doing their search, they're able to see if their company is in your interest section, and they will quite often give you priority over other people if they think that you like their company. In the groups area, you're going to want to go out and you're going to find some professional groups that are close to or are equivalent to the jobs that you've had or the technical base that you have. You're going to join those groups. There will be a gatekeeper for each one of the groups so that they will be able to evaluate and ensure that you do belong in that group. When you join a group, that means that you're going to have comments from people within that group inside your home page, and you'll be able to see more activity associated with those groups. You're going to want to be active in those so that you're going to want to comment, not just like, but put comments or post your own insights into those groups. LinkedIn says that the goal is 20 groups. That's kind of a lot, but you should only join the groups that you think are going to be important to you and that you'll be able to keep track of. And we'll take a look at where the standard titles are and where the group search is on LinkedIn. But you're also going to want to add schools. LinkedIn will automatically add a school to your LinkedIn profile in the interest section if you put that down as an area that you studied at or graduated from. But that doesn't mean that you can't add more schools. And having more that you like or have some affiliation with, good thing to have. You should keep track of your dashboard too, because that's going to give you some pretty valuable information. When you take a look at who has viewed your profile, you're going to see a graph. Your goal should be at least 5 views per week. Actually, if you're in the midst of a search, you're probably going to want it closer to 10 per week. You'll notice that you've got interesting views. That means that someone who is a director level or above has viewed your profile, or someone who is a member of a company that's in your interest group has viewed your profile. So those are good things to be able to see. The other thing you're going to see is the number of search appearances that you've had. It'll tell you how many you've had in general. It'll tell you where the searchers work, what the searchers do. So that will be their title on LinkedIn. And it'll give you some type of evaluation of how seriously people are looking at you. You generally want to see the ones who could be hiring managers or could be recruiters. Now, your search appearances could also include the keywords that were used in order to find you in their search. So you can see that quite often a recruiter is going to have multiple skills that they are putting in. And if those are skills that you think are active and that you want to be finding your next job that uses those skills, good, you're set up just right. If you find that somebody is looking at your profile and you came up on a search for some skills that you don't want anymore, or you don't feel is an appropriate use of your future, then you might want to go back and take out some of those old skills that may have been very good 10 or 15 years ago, but don't have much bearing on what you want to do next. Now, we can also use your college network and a targeted company to look a little bit more closely at what it is that you're looking for. So let's go out onto my profile. And let's take a look at a couple of things that we were talking about. Can you see my profile, Jeff? Perfect. All right. We talked about how to make sure that you're using the job titles that LinkedIn is interested in. You're going to go to the Jobs tab. And in the Jobs tab, you'll be able to see that there's a search by title. And if you say that you are wanting to look at a project manager role, you've got a couple of choices here. You've got project manager, but they're also saying a program manager might be similar, but it's giving you some additional information here. Use one of the drop-down titles because those are generally going to be a search for the family of jobs rather than just that specific title.
And I know Keisha asked a question, where do you find standard titles for the profile? This is the place to do it right here.
This is the place to do it. So let's take a look at one of the new features on LinkedIn, and that's going to be found on the More button. You can build a resume off of your LinkedIn profile now. So if you click on Build a Resume, I created one here, and it's going to have all the information that I would have on LinkedIn, but it gives me an opportunity to use this and possibly change it just a bit in order to apply for a job using this as my resume. So it's got all of the features in here that would be expected, but it allows you to create that resume a little bit easier if you've been putting more attention onto your profile than you have on your resume itself. New feature, just as last week. The other question that came up was on the skills and endorsements. And this is where you're going to find the Take a Skill quiz. In this case, some of the skills that I have are going to be, PowerPoint would be one that does have a skill test associated with it. I would click on this, go into the Take a Skill quiz. It would give me an option of the different types of quizzes that I'm eligible for based on those skills that I have in this section, and it'll allow me to pick which ones I want to take a test on. Does that make sense? Okay, let's take a look at doing a search by a company that you're interested in. So somebody type into the chat room a company they're interested in looking at.
Real page.
So you type in the name of the company in the search bar that's at the top of every tab except for the Jobs tab. You're going to go down to the company, click on that, and that's going to take you to the LinkedIn page for this company. It's not the web page that is going to be public facing, it's only for LinkedIn. You're going to want to follow it because that's going to drop it down into the area of your interest section for companies. And then you're going to come down and you can see that it's got a section here that's got a couple different tabs. You can go into the people. And this tells you the 6,426 people who are currently employed by RealPage and who have a LinkedIn profile. So the information will give you, let's go ahead and show more, where they live. A lot of them are living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's probably the area that we want to be looking at. But we also want to take a look at where they studied. Because if you went to one of the schools that these people are in, that's an additional way to connect with people. Colleges and universities are huge pluses because people take care of each other from those schools. Let's go back to just the people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're going to be looking at the 2,084 employees here. You've got a previous and a next here. If you click on next, it tells you what they do. This is what department they work in. So being able to find people who are in the department that you're interested in could be a very positive thing. It also talks about what they studied, because sometimes if a person studied something technically that you also studied in school, it's a positive way to send an invitation to connect. The other next button is going to tell you some of the skills that they have on their LinkedIn skills and assessment, skills and endorsement area. And it tells you how you're connected. You may already have some people at that company that you know, but you may have a lot of people that are second degree connections then. And a second degree connection is generally an easier person to connect with because you already have somebody in common, and you can use that in your invitation. So let's say that in this area, we want to know the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we really want to know who is a recruiter. And there are 52 people in this company who currently have or used to have a recruiter title. And if you scroll down, there they are. So if you wanted to be able to connect with any of the people at this company in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who have a recruiter title and are currently recruiting, you may want to come down here. This person is a tech recruiter, so this might be somebody that you'd want to be able to look at. Do not use the white connect button here because that sends the invitation without allowing you to put a personal message. And you really do want a personal message for these people. And you'll find that in the more connect. And when you connect, you're going to be able to put in a message which says, I'm interested in working at RealPage. I have this set of skills and experience. I've applied for this job. Be specific about it. Would love to talk with you about my employment capabilities. Like to talk with you about my skills. So being able to use the connect button on the profile page is going to be a big one. I wonder what game this is. Is this Game of Thrones? No, can't be. Anyway, he's a gamer of some sort, and sometimes that's fun to be able to connect if you know what that is. But going back to this page, now we don't care as much about the recruiter, so we're going to take recruiter off. And if I'm in the IT area, I'm going to want to know who the vice president of IT is. And there are 103 people who have that title of some sort. Take a look at them. You can narrow it down a little bit more. So if you wanted to look for the engineering group, if you wanted to look at the finance group, you could use that as part of your search. But being able to find the right people to connect to in a company is going to be a massive amount of work if you don't use this page, because there's really no other area that has this much information and is sortable as quickly. So connect with recruiters, connect with people who are possible hiring managers, and connect with people who have similar titles to you. And always send a connection request that's personalized. So let's go back and take a look, because we said that one of the great connections is through where you went to school. Could someone give me some information or give me a school they want to take a look at?
St. John's University.
And is it J-O-N?
J-O-N, oh, J-O-H-N.
St. John's University. Probably this one or this one. Let's take a look. Is this one the one in Queens, New York?
Laura, is this the right one? That's
the one. Okay. Well, you've probably already followed it because it's probably one that you're close to. If you're paying tuition to a school, you can certainly add it into your profile. But let's take a look now. Instead of people, we're going to look at the alumni. And this is going to tell us about the 79,103 people who have graduated in the last 120 years from St. John's University and who have a LinkedIn profile. So let's show more.
Well, my dad won't be on there. He graduated in 1932.
Does he have a LinkedIn profile?
No, he's not with us anymore.
Okay. You'd be surprised how many people are still here, because you can do a sort by what year or what range of years, but it goes back pretty far. I'd be surprised if any of them had that much in the way of profiles, but let's take a look. I don't see Dallas in here. So let's put it in. And that when you type in the city, then it'll show up at the top of the list right underneath the country that it's part of. So I must have missed it. 407 people, alumni. And it tells you where they work. So if you find a company that you would be interested in, and let's say you're interested in Goldman Sachs, and now you want to connect with the 3 people who work at Goldman Sachs, who graduated from the same school that you did, and here they are. So we got Austin, Ellie, and Scott. Being able to send them a connection request off of their profile page, nice to be able to say, I also graduated from this university. I see you're at a company that I admire. Let's talk. How do you like it there? And your general first request is not going to be asking an awful lot of questions that they'd feel uncomfortable with. You're going to be asking just to connect and start a dialogue. After you connect and your first degree connections, then you can message back and forth, talk in more detail. What type of questions are coming up on interviews these days? Do you know who the hiring manager is for this position? But being able to connect through a university is going to be a huge plus because people generally have a trusting relationship with other people who attended that school. So now you've got a way to connect for a company that you're looking for, and you've got a way of connecting for schools. Let's go back to profile page. And one of the questions was something about the talent brand. Talent brand means that, go there. When you're in your interest section, go and see all, and here are the companies. These companies will see me as being part of their talent brand. And on LinkedIn Recruiter, I will show up higher than other people if someone from these companies are looking for people with my skills, because I've indicated I've got an interest in the company, and that's going to make me more desirable to them. Okay on that?
So if you're applying for a job, make sure you follow that company, because that will, if they look you up on the recruiting package, you will show up higher.
So any type, and that's exactly right. You're going to show up higher in their job searches. Now let's talk a little bit about hashtags, because hashtags are one of the newer items on LinkedIn, and they used to be called communities, so they've always had those. But a hashtag means that you've got an interest in a general area that might not be specific to a title or a job skill, but is something that you want to keep in touch with and learn more about. Hashtags always start with a pound sign, and hashtag management is one of the largest ones on LinkedIn. You can see that there are 36 million followers for that, and everything on this page either has a hashtag management associated with it or was posted by somebody that was part of this group. So if you're interested in learning more about management, this is a good one to have. But there's some that are going to be very specific too. There's a hashtag COVID-19. There's a hashtag stock market. There's a hashtag empathy. So LinkedIn is going to keep track of the types of hashtags that you're using, and you're going to use these mostly when you're doing posting on your homepage, but you're also going to be using it on your profile page also. Now remember that anytime that you've got 3 dots on LinkedIn, that means there's more activities that you can take place. And here you can say, report this hashtag, now that we need that. You can discover new hashtags, or you could manage your hashtags. If you start adding in hashtags on things that you're interested in, then LinkedIn learns from you. LinkedIn uses a lot of artificial intelligence, much more than applicant tracking systems do. But LinkedIn is going to keep track of what companies you're looking at, what types of jobs you're looking at, what types of skills those jobs require, and it's going to recommend hashtags to you off of any of the hashtag pages that are out here. The way that you can use them effectively is in your About section. You can add in a hashtag at the end of a paragraph to accentuate what you were talking about. So in this case, I'm talking about hashtag career development. That's a hashtag that I'm following. I read about it when it comes up on my homepage, make more comments on it because that's the area that I'm in as a career. I also added in a hashtag toward the end here, which was hashtag empathy, which I think is a nice one. I like reading those because they're generally a little bit happier. They normally talk a little bit more about how to be diplomatic, how to be the peacekeeper in a group. When you add in a hashtag, no one is ever going to be able to click on it because the About section of LinkedIn does not allow any smart links. It doesn't want to put in anything here that's going to take you outside of LinkedIn, so it really ties up the hashtags also. You can put hashtags in your About section. You can put them in your Experience section, but never put them in your headline area because that really fouls up the search criteria and you're not going to be able to be found. Okay on that? Now we talked about the dashboard. You need to keep track of the number of people who have viewed your profile and the number of times you come up in a search appearance. This is nice because they do give you a chart that allows you to see that at this point up here, I posted some information, and at this I posted information, and I've been inactive for the 3 weeks after that, and you can see how my search appearances are going down, down, down generally because I'm not active on the home page. LinkedIn is going to reward you for the times that you're on the home page and putting out information. You'll notice that you've got a like button, and this really looks Facebookish to me. I really don't care for it particularly. I wouldn't use this. When you like something, it doesn't really add to the value of your profile, but if you comment, your comment is going to give you additional points. If you are creating new posts, you can start a post, and LinkedIn is going to, as you start typing, it's going to be able to say, here are some hashtags that are appropriate for the content that we see that you're typing about. So you can generally be able to pick up a hashtag from the area through here. It's also giving you some options now that they hadn't done before about celebrating, telling people that you're hiring. You can create a poll so that you can ask questions and give people a multiple choice answer, or you can offer help. This is a new one also. So if you're offering help, you can go through and you can say, here are the things that I can help people with. Maybe it's just introductions. Maybe it's just volunteer work that I'm willing to do. And when you're done, you can be able to see that there is information that's already populated here. Then you'll be able to put in information. I'd like to help, and give some explanation as to possibly the limits on what you're able to do. If it just means that you're able to help people who are in a technical field find introductions to specific companies, you can do that type of thing. But don't make it too broad, or people aren't going to be able to recognize exactly what it is that you're helping for. But this is a new feature on LinkedIn, and you can see that the hashtags that are coming up here, hashtag health, hashtag management, hashtag COVID, which is one of the bigger hashtags for the COVID. There are going to be several of them out there, but it's generally going to give you the ones that have the highest number of participants for that.
So you talked about like and comment. What about share?
If you share, that gives you more information also. It means that you can repost it onto other platforms within LinkedIn where you're adding more hashtags. So it gives a little bit broader background. If you're not using hashtags, the only people who are going to see your posts are generally going to be the ones who are in your connections and the people who are in the companies that you're following. But with hashtags, you're going to get to millions more people if you're using a hashtag that's got a lot of folks that are following them.
But it also shares with your network. Does it go to your first degree connections or?
All the first degree connections,
All
yes.
your first degree connections. So I would encourage everybody, if you happen to see my daily post about the events coming up, today's LinkedIn, tomorrow interviewing, whatever, if you see them, instead of clicking on like, click on share so you spread that news with everybody in your network.
All right, good tip. Any questions about what you've seen or why we're doing this?
Steve asked, is it possible to see what hashtags my connections are following?
Only if they have that public. So if they have that as part of their about section, or if they have it in their experience section, you'll be able to see it, but you won't be able to see it like you would over here. So on the home page, it'll show all the recent hashtags, all the hashtags I follow.
Do you want to go to my profile? Why don't you pop my profile in and see if I don't know if I'm following anybody or not, but you can at least we can see where it's at.
Do you have any hashtags in the about section? You've got the open to new opportunities one. That may be the only one that's really visible.
Okay, so it doesn't pop up. There's not a separate section for what I'm following or anything at the bottom.
There's some things that LinkedIn still considers to be privileged information to you.
Okay.
Other questions?
Questions anybody has? Would you like to, if you want to submit your name and we'll look at your profile online if you'd like? Anybody want to volunteer? Please note when you see my headline there or my banner, I've made it so that anybody who publicly finds me on Google will see my phone number and my email address. Make it as simple as you can. There's a great program up there called Canva, CANVA.com, Canva, CANVA.com. And what that will allow you to do is you can build banners. You tell it you want a LinkedIn banner, it'll pop up with the right size, and you can do whatever you'd like. So, Alkeisha, thank you for volunteering here.
All right. It might be nice to have a background here. You've got the LinkedIn default, the blue with the lines and dots in it. You're able to change that. So if you wanted to get something a little bit stronger, you would find a background like Jeff has, or something on the upper right-hand side of your profile picture. You'll have either a camera or a edit pencil. And when you click on that, it'll open up and you'll be able to add a photo or change a photo. Find something that's associated with your type of work so that you can immediately show people what you do and the type of work you feel is important. There's several different sites out there for that. Google Images, if you type in LinkedIn background, would be perfectly good. The Canva one allows you to create one on your own, and that's a very strong one. So, nice information through here. The only thing I might want to consider on the About section would be to add a story about a project that you did or some activity that you did that would be of interest to a hiring company, that would be able to say, this is the type of work I do, here's a story of what I've contributed, and I can do it for your company too.
And add your contact information there also.
And I like putting it at the bottom so that you'd be able to say email, and let's see, Jeff, what did you have?
I think mine says, let's connect, or how can I help you, or let's get connected. I think it's right there in the middle. Let's get connected. Email address and phone number. You don't have to say it's what your email. You don't have to say email and put your email address. You don't have to put phone number, whatever. And if you don't want to put your phone number on LinkedIn, I understand that because some people don't want to share that. Consider getting a Google Voice number. That way, the Google Voice number will roll over to your cell phone or your home phone, whatever you want it to be, and you still have a phone number. The whole object is recruiters, you want to make it as easy for recruiters to pick up the phone and they go, ooh, you're exactly what I'm looking for. They don't want to send an email, an in-mail, and wait for you to respond a day, 2 days, 3 days later. They have very short attention spans. They have a job to fill. They want to be able to pick up the phone and call you and you answer.
All right, so being able to put this on is good for recruiters who are going to be second-degree connections. If you're a first-degree connection with someone, you can go up into this contact info and you can find the phone number there if they've made that visible, but you can also find the email that's a personal email rather than trying to message the person. Only someone who's a first-degree connection can see these pieces of information.
And you have to make sure in your profile that you share that, because I've had people connect with me and I go, well, but I don't see your email address. What's in there? Well, there's in your privacy settings, one of those, even if you're connected, you can hide certain fields. If you're looking for a job, open your thing up as wide as you can because you want people to find you.
So true. I kind of like putting in strength finders too. It might be worthwhile to put in a definition of what this is, because connectedness, put in a comma and then put in a statement as to what that means. Most people in recruiting are familiar with strength finders, but they may not know what each one of them means. Some of them are good.
Pop back to my profile for just a second. There you go. And go to my about. Okay, so hold on right there. I'm going to draw on the screen here for a second. So you see my top 5 strengths, but I've added it into the sentence here so that I've added, analytical, and I forget where the last 2 are, identifying, whatever, deliver, whatever. I've added those things as a descriptor for what I do. So that's something you may want to consider doing besides just listing them. It's up in my paragraph.
Good one. Okay. Now, I'm in a job that values that type of skill more. So what I did is I put it out as independent paragraphs.
Right.
So that it described it a little bit more. You've got more of a technical background, so you might not need this quite as much as a definition. But putting a little bit more about that might give you more oomph to it.
And you may want to also add whatever your skills and certifications are. Put that, that's on your resume. It probably, I don't know where it would be. Well, yeah, you have some skills, but I mean, what you list on the bottom of your resume, that last couple lines with certain computer programs, whatever, you may want to put that again up into the about sections. I know, Ruth, you've talked about that for a good search, you need to have the terms in there 3 to 5 times. So if it's in your skills section and if it's in your about section and you talk about it once or twice in your jobs, you're getting that 3 to 5 hits for each one of your skills.
Perfect. Yes, LinkedIn rewards it when you duplicate information. So let's make sure that happens too.
Don't just list the word 5 times in a row.
No, no. I like that you have volunteer experience. That's good too. What you may want to do is, let me show you on mine, is in this add a profile section, you can go down into the accomplishments area, projects, and you can add projects. If you were working in a technical field for that long, you probably had some accomplishments that you want to talk about, and you've got your star stories, your source stories, your interview stories that talk about what the situation was, what the background was, what you did, what the results were. This area here allows you to name the project, talk about when you did it, what company you were in. But this description area is huge. It gives you so much more room to talk about it because the accomplishment that you have may be a bullet point in your accomplishment section. It could be a little bit of a statement within your about section. But if you want to make a real difference, put it into a project. That'll come onto your main profile page, but adds a lot of value and is able to talk about what your thought process was and how you accomplish things. So for you, that might be something that would be worthwhile. And good information through here, love your education. LinkedIn allows you to have 50 skills. You've got 7. You might want to add more because they've got all of the technical words that you would need in order to showcase what you want to do next. Being able to put in agile, ergonomics, biomechanical engineering, those are all out there as skills. You may also want to put in some of the soft skills because if you're working as a manager, you want to be able to say that you've got leadership, that you've got communication skills, that you can build relationships. So round this out a little bit because right now you're looking technical, but if you're going into more of a management role where you're going to be working with people, you probably want a few more words in here. Recommendations. We recommend 5 given and 5 received. There are probably folks out there who could use a recommendation, might want to talk with them and see what they'd like you to highlight in a recommendation, but ask a couple more folks to give you recommendations too.
And if possible, try to reach out to your old manager or something, and you can even make it easy for them and say, well, I'd like you to, write me a recommendation. Here's what you said in your last review that you wrote for me, and type out what it is you'd like, because a lot of times they will just cut and paste. You make it easy for somebody to write that recommendation, you have a better chance of getting it. And if they already said it in a review, it will be, it's got to be good stuff.
All right, someone asked about hashtags so that we could take a look at that real quick one more time. In the search bar at the top of any page except for the jobs tab, type in hashtag and then COVID. It's got a lot of different pieces that you can have there. Let's take a look at just COVID in general. 169,000. Hit the follow, and that way you'll be able to see that on your home page. And any dialogue or conversations going on are going to be available to you also. Does that answer that question?
Yep, I think so. Well, I hope, okay, we're going to look at one more profile here.
One more, because we're right up. Oh, in it together. All right. Nice title here. I have heard that LinkedIn is changing the headline title from 120 characters to 240 characters. It looks like you'd be a good person to test that out because you've got some good information here about what you can bring in, but you need to have 1 or 2 titles in this top portion. Otherwise, you're not going to be found as easily. So add in 1 or 2 titles, separate by a pipe, and this information here looks good. I have not seen on LinkedIn that they've announced that they've extended that to 240 characters, but
I've heard that if you have an iPhone and you go to the mobile app, you have unlimited characters. It's a bug in the system. So
there's a bug in the system for the headline too. You can always go to 150 characters if you were on your phone, regardless of what phone. But I think that they intentionally opened it up a little bit more.
right. I would add a little bit of space in your about section. When it's a big blob of text, people have a tough time reading it. So just add a couple blank lines in between paragraphs.
Okay.
I would also be careful about what type of bullets you're using. LinkedIn does not support formatting, and a format that you put in while you were on Chrome on a laptop does not translate to a recruiter who's looking on their Samsung phone. And some of these stars end up as emojis when they're translated again across devices and sizes. So
Okay.
I might go back to just the regular bullets because we know that the round bullets do translate across all devices and all sizes and all platforms. A little bit of white space in here will make it more readable. Your top part, hello, I am Mark, that sounds friendly. If you're not seeing as much activity, I'd get rid of that first. I like this next part. I'm an accomplished and solutions-oriented professional. Extensive experience, all of that looks good. I'm not sure that this initial one brings you as much as you might think. Good information in your experience section. Wow, nice education. Taking those classes, perfect. Volunteer experience, huge there. Skills and assessments. Got a lot of them here. Got some good interpersonal skills. Recommendations, you may want to give a couple more. And your interest area, you've got companies, you've got, oh, good groups. You've got your schools. Nice, very nice. All right, I think we're out of time at this
Okay,
point.
we have one question from Facebook. Jose is asking, should you keep your connection list private from recruiters?
I'm not sure you need to. You can do that, but recruiters don't often have to go into your LinkedIn profile in order to find someone else. That they're using the LinkedIn recruiter software, which is a lot more, it's a lot easier to find people.
Will you page up on Mark's for just a second? Just go up a little bit higher. Hold on. Up. Okay, here we go. People also viewed. You want to turn that off. Why do you want to publicize other people? So in your privacy and settings, you can delete that people also viewed. And it is right on the very first page, right there, fourth one down or fifth one down. Viewers of this profile also viewed. Turn that off on your profile because you know, if they're looking for a project manager and you pop up and then they go, well, wait, here are 8 other people who do the same thing. Let me look at their profiles. So, you know, the object here is for people to look at your profile and be stuck on your profile. So please make sure you turn that feature off. We want them just to stick with you. All right. Well, here, let me, I'll take back over here. Ruth, thank you very, very much. Great information. I hope everybody, you know, we've gotten some really good feedback on the list here. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that if you happen to be in the military, if you're a veteran or been in the military, you can go to veterans.linkedin.com. You can get 1 year of LinkedIn Premium Job Seekers for free. The only prerequisite is that you have to list your military service on your LinkedIn profile. Today at 3 o'clock, just an FYI, the Frisco Career Transition Workshop is starting our next 6-week programming. So today we're going to talk about Jumpstart Your Job Search with Locke Alderson. You do need to register to get in, or You can get the registration link on the Career at FW calendar. We also will be broadcasting live on Facebook, so you can watch us on Facebook. But we'd like you to register just so we know who you are. You can still watch us on Facebook. Tomorrow, Wednesday, every Wednesday, we do an interviewing session. Tomorrow will be session 7 of 13, demonstrating enthusiasm, how to be enthusiastic before, during, and after the interview. A very, very important trait, because when you come in for an interview, you don't want to be a lump. You want to show some enthusiasm, and how to do that, and how to work into your opening talk, and how to finish, when you finish strong, how to be able to do that. On Thursday, we have our effective resume class. Okay, well, I'm switching slides here and you're not. Okay, here, oh, sorry about that. So here's the LinkedIn, sorry about that. Here's the jump, start your LinkedIn search coming up today at 3 o'clock from 3 to 4:30. Tomorrow, interviewing Wednesdays, being enthusiastic, Wednesday, 1 o'clock. On Thursday, effective resumes. We'll be doing that. We do that every Thursday. And then this Friday, I talked about earlier, the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Our speaker is going to talk about guidance for job seekers during the pandemic. So you're welcome to join us from 9:30 to 11:30 on Friday. This session, along with all these other sessions, will be recorded. They will be on the Career at FW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch these. If you something you wanted to see again, you can go back and watch them. In addition, they're there from all the ones we've done so far. You can go back and watch any of those if you'd like to watch something again. If you go to YouTube, here's what it looks like. It's the Career USA YouTube channel. If you click on where the blue arrow is, click on playlist. At the bottom up will come, I think I have 6 or 7 different playlists. Find the one on LinkedIn, or the one on interviewing, or the one on resumes, whichever one you like, and you click underneath the very bottom where it says view full playlist, and you'll see all the different sessions that we have going on. So please remember, Career at FW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Ruth is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid to do this. This is what I do to give back to the community. All these speakers that you hear on here, we're all volunteer, because we want to help you land your next great opportunity. So we survive on donations. Hopefully when you do land your next great opportunity, you'll think about the help you received, maybe one of the sessions or multiple sessions that you watched. Please consider making a donation when you do land. And if your company offers matching donations, please look us up on the list. If you don't see us, please reach out to me. I'll get your name on the list, and that way your donation doubles in value. So we really, really appreciate that. So thank you very much for joining us today. Maybe we'll see you this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Otherwise, maybe tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So have a great week.
Thanks, Jeff.